Welcome back to the hottest marriage show in our neighborhood. Sorry, John D and
Kanika,
aka
Dylan.
In Too Much Podcast, Rescripting the culture, one conversation at a time.
Yeah.
Good morning, my love.
Yeah, how you doing?
Well, my summer break has started. Life is filled with tasks and relaxation. I'm excited about what we can really accomplish this summer with our imagination and our will to create as many different vibes in this humble abode as possible.
I love a vibe. Yeah, I agree.
For sure. How are you?
Fine. I don't get break,
She gets a break whenever she wants.
No, all year can be like, because I gotta go to a building. Now it's like, I'm on break, and so
this is the first weekend.
Hate. I know it's not hate. It's not hate. It's a little bit of hate. Yeah. So when you get weeks off at a time and the check still comes in, and just be like, oh, I miss that part about teaching.
Not that much to go back.
Absolutely not that much to go back, but but I do recognize that there are benefits. I mean, but by the time you get to the end of the school year, teachers are like tapped out. Oh
yeah, for sure.
I think it should be year-round school, because the idea of having like 3 weeks off here or there makes, when I was teaching, it would have felt way better, because you hate that they lose everything they don't lose everything, but they lose a large amount of what they learned over the summer. And then the curriculum the next year builds off of the previous one generally. And so then it's like you spend time trying to reteach. So I think there's benefits to the year-round thing.
Yeah, I think only people that don't mind that are people that are educators and people that understand why. But most parents want their kids gone.
What do you mean gone now? Like
throughout the year, they don't want the breaks. It's kind of, they already know that summer is here, so they plan around that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's the way that I would look at it. Like, if your kid's off for the summer, I guess you could send them throughout the year, but it would be a lot more planning.
You mean like send them to family or whatever?
Yeah, like if they're going somewhere for the summer trips.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I think that.
Who's going to watch the kids during like
when you chop it up?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. Like parents that don't have those options. But I guess they would just have to create them, because if that was the thing, then their jobs would have to understand, right? Or no?
No. It was already bad. You know what? I felt kind of bad. So this week, I had to go to an event in the Detroit area for work. And we were talking about social determinants of health, which is like the things that impact your health around where you work, play, live, pray, whatever the case may be. And so I was talking to somebody, and they were like, yeah, so many different programs and things have really come into play, around social determinants of health and, filling in the gaps for people. And I said something that later on, I was like, I might have been misunderstood, because I was like, well, COVID bullied us into that. Mm-hmm. And I didn't mean it in the sense of, it's like something we didn't want to do, but we had to do it because of COVID. It was like, people have been talking about this stuff for forever. And I say this because resources in your community, like if COVID really made people really start paying attention to work-life balance on a larger scale.
Oh, yeah.
Like
sure.
People have work-life balance if they were executives, and then they said, well, I need to have this time off, da-da-da-da. But most people didn't really have, managers or companies that understood that sometimes I need to flex my day so that I can go handle this for my kid. But, I'll throw the hours on somewhere else or whatever the case may be. And so I was like, I probably got misunderstood, but because they were like, oh, maybe voluntold. And I was like, no, but in my head, I was thinking COVID made it where everybody had to start looking at, okay, so maybe we really need to take this off the tape, like take it off the slow motion and really start paying attention to people and helping to take care of them, because everybody's stressed. I feel like we understood that all these things were impacting us and we couldn't get that work-life balance, and we wanted it, and everybody had these initiatives that they thought about, but nobody's really picking it up. And then COVID came And then everybody was like, okay, we need to really start thinking about the whole person because y'all out here stressing out. And in a minute, we ain't gonna have nobody to work. So, some were bullied into really, really paying attention to people being a whole person.
Bullied into doing the right thing.
Yes. Yeah, it was like things that, projects that people had that really, really made sense and looked at people as a whole person. Like that one guy over COVID, he was like, everybody in my company is going to make at minimum 70,000. And if you make more than 70,000, your income was going to increase by this to this, right? And everybody was like, he's so dumb. His company is going to fall. But it's 4 years later since I think he did this. And there have been increases in home ownership in his employees. His company has grown, productivity increased. More people are having children in his family, like in his company. And he was like, you just have to like push forward and say, I'm going to do it. But I bring it all back to say, if we made it where kids were in school over time, all over throughout the year, I think other things would shift to work for it. Like, there would be more programs throughout the year, like camps. Maybe there would be, I definitely understand about, childcare and stuff. That's important. But a lot more people are working from home. But then that's even more stressful because, like, thinking about summer break, our kids are all teenagers. So they go to their respective spaces to do whatever they want to do. But people who have small kids, them days where they'll be like, oh, school is canceled. And then them kids got to be at home with you and you work from home. Talk about anxiety. I'm like, I can't even. So, yeah, there will have to be a lot of shifting around in a lot of ways with culture and stuff. Like, I remember when we used to go to summer break, by the time summer break came, we would have 1 or 2 weeks and then we would have vacation Bible school. Vacation Bible school always made sure that they were at a certain time, like in the beginning of the summer.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll be 1, sometimes it'll be 2 weeks. Then you had grandparents. Now your grandparents are way younger and they're still working. Like, they ain't retired and just at home being granny. They're like working and bring home. They got to pay bills. You know what I'm saying? So the world has really changed. So I guess, I don't know. I guess I felt like figuring out how to manage a kid over a 2-month stretch would be more difficult, but I get that too.
Yeah.
That it might not be. I don't know.
I think that if you put a problem in front of anybody, you'll get complaining because people don't want to change, but overall they'll adapt.
Oh yeah. Cause it shows we adapt.
For sure.
And that was one of the things I was saying with COVID, like all these jobs were acting like you couldn't work from home. Then all of a sudden laptops were being bought in mass and then everybody was getting sent home to work. You can make it work. You just have to be put in a position. And I think that was really what it is. If you get backed into a corner, you become far more innovative and creative about how you're going to solve a problem. And you're looking around at everything. Like, we're not backed in a corner. However, when we moved into the house, our house is very, very plain. Like, the people before us, they didn't really do anything in regards to the front yard, the backyard. Everything was kind of just blah. And looking at it, we're like, okay, something got to happen. One day, I don't even know where we found this. Oh, there was flagstone on the side of the house just for no reason. So we put that in the garage. We're like, we'll use that at some point.
So flagstone is a particular type of rock or a stone
that people
use for decorative things in yards and parks.
Like pavers and stuff, like stepping stone spaces. Yeah. And so we found that, we put it in the garage. We're like, maybe we'll use it. We had this one area, for some reason they had bricks there. I don't know why those bricks were there. We dug them up, but we were like, we'll use them some other time. And then we ended up building a retaining wall. And then we built a seating area in front. And then we built planters. Now we're in the backyard and we're like, okay, we want like a seating area or a fire pit area. Them bricks and came out again. We got bricks. We're about to use those bricks and that flagstone. You become like, you start looking around and you're like, okay, what can I do to utilize? What do I have? And how can I make it work for me? And I think that I'm glad that it really makes me feel like I'm exercising my brain when I'm like, okay, we got some stuff, but what are we supposed to do with it? But I think that it's good for everybody that we get I think sometimes we got to be backed into a corner. I know it's a lot of anxiety and it's scary, and I'm not going to act like COVID wasn't like horrible and traumatizing for a lot of people. But at the same time, when we got back into that corner, companies had to start listening to people.
For sure.
They had to start caring about your mental health. They had people were demanding it. And then now, people will leave. And I mean, the whole idea of leaving a job after 1 or 2 years or whenever it doesn't suit you, that's what people are on now. And, jobs have to make up for that stuff. I have some friends that are like, as soon as you start feeling like your job isn't really suiting you anymore, you get up and you look for something else. And it's really nothing to them. I'm still on the border of the generation that's like, stay in your job. And the generation that's like, so what if you don't have, it's weird to me when you only have 1 year of experience here, 1 year of experience there, because I'm programmed to feel like that's wrong. And I know it's not, because every time people move, their income increases. I think it makes sense how much it increases, but it increases, and it makes me sit here and say, like, maybe I shouldn't just be sitting here and like, I enjoy my job. I love my job. And even though I get raises and I think they're great raises, if I went somewhere else, it's like a restart, and then they look at you and they boost your income even more. I'm like, maybe I should be doing that. I don't really know. But I know that companies now have a lot more initiatives where they're paying attention to people and being more flexible with them and what kind of life they want to live, as long as you're getting the work done, as long as you're being productive.
There was a study some years ago that said that mankind loses billions of dollars in their income because they get comfortable with what their job says that they're supposed to make versus shopping their own expertise or experience. And I think just listening to you say, what could somebody else give you? Like when your work-life environment makes you feel like, is the money worth it? Like, should I leave and recreate something that I genuinely enjoy for the risk of making more money? But who's to say you're not going to get that there? But it's one of those, it's not always green on the other side.
Yeah. And that's my fear. I fear going somewhere and then I get paid more, but my stress levels are higher. Mm-hmm. And my sanity and my peace are more important to me. But it's the fear of the unknown.
Absolutely. So just listening again, I think even though people don't consider that when they're not making that decision, that if people did leave their jobs, I think stress would go up even more, because transient workplaces is high stress.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people that are there are doing multiple jobs that are not even theirs. And it's just tempers are a lot quicker. Mm-hmm. People have a lot better way to view how things should be done. And you just get a lot of gossip. I don't want to say gossip, but, negative conversations about, what could be done.
You stretch thin. You be like, look, I gotta find somebody to unload off of them. You know what I'm saying? But I agree. I don't know. So I think that in my case, my job may be lucky that I have that fear. Because if I go somewhere and I don't get to have the same level of peace, I don't know how long it's going to take for me to recalibrate myself. And if I'm going to be willing to jump out and try again. It's kind of like a bad relationship, isn't it? But I'm not in a bad relationship with my job. But it's like, do I leave this relationship and what if it's worse somewhere else? I remember when I was younger and I used to have friends that were in horrible relationships, you know what I'm saying? But we were younger and we were a lot more forgiving of certain behaviors. And then it was just like, okay, so if I leave here, then what? Because they're all acting like this. they're not really all acting like that. Maybe the ones you run into because you run in certain groups, but they're not all like that. But it's the fear of, I might go somewhere and it's worse, especially if you're in an abusive relationship. You'd be like, what if I got tricked into this one? He wasn't like that in the beginning. What if I find somebody else and then I think it's better and then I'm in a worse situation than I am now? So yeah, I think this ran a lot of different directions. It was really just about year-round school, and it just got into some other stuff. But yeah, fear of change, man.
I think that's pretty much what sums up all of this is people don't realize that tough situations is going to create a change, and most likely is going to be for the better. But when you feel like you already have something good, you don't think it can get better because you're afraid that it could get worse.
That's true.
But to me, I feel like I didn't ever fear that because I felt like I was bringing me. Like I was going to make the best out of it. Like I've been in some situations where I wouldn't have wanted to be in it, but it was just something I was supposed to go through. It wasn't like I was swapping this out to get that. It was just, I needed that experience to see what it looked like. So I guess if you look at it differently, you can get a lot out of it. But looking at it the way you were looking at it, I can see how that would make me want to stay. But I never was the one to make a lot of money. So it was like, I was always searching to make more money.
You know, this reminds me of something I wanted to talk to you about. So I'd seen something where someone posted that when you have these generational practices in your family, the person that's going to break it is the person that's considered the difficult person in the family. And I guess I was thinking about that in the sense that you really don't have a problem changing directions. Like, I've definitely seen you change directions in jobs and locations. You lived far more places than I would have even considered. I was funny acted about moving to Atlanta. But I think that one of the things that you have to be is that person that doesn't take no for an answer, or the person that finds comfort in discomfort. Like they don't mind discomfort. And so when I think about who's considered the difficult person in a family, I don't know. I might have to really think on who the difficult person is in the families I grew up in, because I don't really see, I don't know. I guess there's some behaviors that I see that maybe could be changed, but there's never been anyone that forced it. But with you, I've seen you try to move the needle on both sides of your family. And then even when the larger family doesn't change, like your family is really different than the makeups of your larger family. You're the family we created. Like you've really changed some of the idea of what, like we were talking, what was it the other day? And you were like, it's okay if the family reunion starts with just this Lewis right here. And the difference that reunion would look like when our family blows up and flourishes, however it may, that family reunion could look like a million times different than the Sa or the Lewis family doing anything. Yeah. So do you feel like you were the difficult person?
I don't know if I would consider difficult. I think that I questioned everything, and people kind of got irritated with me being as inquisitive as I was. And when I realized I could find my own answers, I think I wasn't difficult. Just when I left for my senior year,
right?
I don't think I was difficult. I think I was just ambitious. And I was trying to find a solution to fit the narrative that I created thus far. And just changing from this to this, it was just opportunities that presented themselves where I felt like I was supposed to take it. It wasn't like pressure. But as far as being difficult in the family, I think me asking questions or challenging certain ideas, I can see why it would be difficult. But I think it's because of my communication, because I don't let people finish their thoughts, or I feel like I already know what they're going to say. And I think even now, people still believe I'm the same way. And I think it has a lot to do with the relationship. So if you don't have a relationship where you can see me change, you can just keep the same idea that I'm that person the last time you spoke to.
I think saying that you're someone who, not saying you're difficult, but saying you're the one that will challenge.
Yes.
I think that that's a better way of looking at it. The one that will challenge the ideas of anything.
Yeah, anything.
Look, he could agree with you. When we were younger, John could agree with you and still argue against you. And you'd be like, okay, but I remember one time we were in a hotel room with, we were somewhere in Dubai or something. I don't know where we were, but we were somewhere and we were with a group of couples, and John he started an argument about 90s rap and something negative about 90s rap. And I said, your favorite rapper is from 90s rap. And when it all came down to it, that wasn't a good conversation. But when it all came down to it, he didn't even believe what he was saying. He just wanted to see what everybody else was going to say.
No, I got caught up. I remember it. I did. I thought it was bad because I was thinking how people smoking cannabis was bad. It was against the law. And I see people, because it comes from the earth, that they're smoking it while they're pregnant. And they're creating a different type of baby.
Oh, I remember that conversation too.
That's what so to me, I was just thinking about students that I've seen already affected by poor decisions from their parents because they were young. So yeah, my favorite rapper is definitely from the 90s. Majority of them are from the 90s, but I just locked in on this idea that I was like, I see it, and this is poor music that's influencing people that say this is okay, and it really bothered it. Like I remember that feeling, and I did. I remember it was like, and in my head I was like, I do,
It's like,
but I feel this way right now.
right.
I do.
Challenging the idea, yeah. So I don't mind you challenging. I do think that it can be frustrating though when you stop people's thoughts because, you know, part of communication is hearing the entire thought so that you can fully process what they're saying. If you don't let them not everybody, just like you, not everyone can find the most clear and concise way to describe it before you lose your attention span and be ready to argue back.
Yeah.
So you got to let them get it out. One of our kids, he's like that where he doesn't know exactly what he needs to say. And sometimes you have to question him so that he can get his full thought. Rather than arguing just what he says in the first response, you have to ask him multiple questions in order to be able to get his full perspective. And then you can respond. But if we just depend on the first thing he says and then jump on that, we really don't get an opportunity to see like how far his belief goes and how developed it is. I remember we were talking about his belief in Jesus and God. And he was like, I don't talk to people about this because, you know, sometimes it makes people uncomfortable. But I think that letting somebody give their entire thought, and even if you think that you got the whole thought, even being able to say, okay, is that your whole perspective? Is there more you want to put on that? Because it makes a difference as to what you're really arguing. You know what I mean?
For sure.
But yeah, I think that that's one of the things that probably that other part of communication is not just what you put out, but what you take in.
Yeah.
And being able to get that part too.
For me to become a better communicator, I need to have probably 3 to 5 questions I can ask before I give any type of negative or positive feedback.
That'll take a lot of work to remind yourself, I need to have 3 or 4 follow-up questions.
At least if I do that, though, the person that's talking to me won't feel uncomfortable or like feeling attacked.
Absolutely.
And I know I have that delivery that can feel like I'm attacking you when I don't want to. It's just out of bad behavior. But yeah, I'm going to try to, I just thought I should have 3 to 5 before I can give anything, have these questions ready before I give any feedback. And I think it will like, pull away. What is it? Pull down the guard of a person. Because, you know, if they hear something, they ready to go back and forth too.
I'm always ready to pull out a sword. I'll be like, don't make me unsheath it. But you know, I think that that's one of the things that you, like when you talk, you think you're giving the full story, but there are backstory things going on that you just figure people know. Or it's just knowledge you have, so you don't think you have to tell people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Sometimes we don't even know that these things are influencing all of the other words we're saying. So we're not even really giving full pictures of what we mean.
Absolutely.
So other people can't either. And especially kids. Kids don't know to elaborate. So we have one kid that if you ask questions, you can literally see him thinking and formulating, what do I think about that? Okay, well, this is what I think about it. And then saying, or he'll just be like, I don't know. We have another kid that when they're talking and you ask questions, they have this full, like if you ask, they got the thoughts to go with it in the background of what they feel is their supporting factors, but they're not telling you all of that either because they figure you should know. Mm-hmm. So, you have a lot of people who are communicating and only giving like a percentage of the percentage of their full thought. And I think that that's why we end up arguing in unnecessarily sometimes with people, because we don't have enough information. And sometimes we get so anxious to say what we want to say in argument of what they're talking about. We don't really care about the details that come after it because I got a good argument as to why you're wrong already. Yeah. And last night we were talking about people being wrong. Was it last night or you were like, or yesterday? I like to say agree to disagree sometimes. And he was like, I don't need to hear that. And I used to get offended because we would go back and forth trying to pull out all the details of the conversation. Like, okay, I'm trying to understand what you're saying. And when we get to the end, I'm like, agree to disagree. Like, I get what you're saying, but agree to disagree. And he was like, look, if you could just say you get what I'm saying, I don't need the agree to disagree part. Just say you understand what I'm saying. I thought when you say, I don't want you to say agree to disagree, I thought it meant if I say I understand where you're coming from, then now I adopt your idea. And now I can't disagree. And we've had this argument for years. And just last night we were talking, he was like, but I don't need that. No, when he used to say, I don't need that, I was like, but it's discounting the fact that I still hold my own idea. I feel like I should be able to say that. You're like, but I don't need that. I don't need that I thought it was discounting me, but it was really just like, I just want to know that I was heard. Yeah, I just want to know that I was understood.
Because people always say, I know what you're talking about. No, you don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't say like the responses you would come up with. That's why I said, like, if you really understood, your response would be different. And that's the reason why, like you said, a good point. A lot of times I don't give enough background information to bring people up to speed on where I am. And they only see this quick sliver or something and they automatically the assumption. Mm-hmm. They don't even ask enough questions. Mm-hmm. So maybe I could be an example of what I want conversations to look like.
You'd be like, let me give you these bullet points, but they are fire bullet points. Be like, I need all of the stuff in between. I'm somebody that I need to know. I would rather know everything, not just the bullet points, because I want to make sure that I understand what somebody's saying. Because I can't co-sign it if I don't fully understand. And sometimes if I do fully understand, then I can say other things that I've learned that might help further support what you say or make you feel like, okay, I need to take that into account because that sounds like that's aligned with how I think, but I never thought about it in conjunction with what we're talking about right now. So yeah, all of that, long story long, we need to make long story long. Like, we try to shorten things up and because clear and concise is important. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes you just have to be able to sit and give people that time to really explore in a conversation. Like we do a lot of, hey, how you doing? I'm doing good. Oh, okay, good. I'm doing good too.
Not really.
Yeah. And then you keep everything real surface and then y'all talk about stuff that don't really mean nothing and then you go on about your way. But sometimes we got to hold time and space to be able to sit there and be like, let's just like really, really shoot the breeze and talk.
But you got to really care about a person and want to do that.
Yeah, we do.
Or the experience of learning from another person.
Yes. Yeah, you really do. You have to care. And I mean that in a nice way. Like, people be like, but I don't really care. I'm one of those people that I don't care for a lot of interaction. I can only do so much interaction. And it's weird because people talk about, they there are just certain people that can't really deal with. I really like interacting with people and having deep conversations and stuff. But people get that the idea that I want to do it all the time. Mm-hmm. And I don't. And then when I back off, it's like I was being fake. But I wasn't. I was really interested then, just not now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're right. I mean, I have to want to care about your perspective. And I think that also comes with, do I respect you as a person and your ideas, though? Like, if usually when I'm talking to you, it just sounds like a whole bunch of crazy, I'm not going to hold space for no conversations where, to explore why you talk crazy. I probably should. That would probably be an interesting conversation. You talk to somebody, you'd be like, every time I talk to them, it'd be nonsense. But maybe if I take the time to really layer the nonsense, but tell me about that. But why that?
Maybe it'll help you understand why they feel that way.
Yeah.
You're like, dang, I guess I didn't have enough information.
But here's the fear. What if I waste all that time and it's so nonsense?
That's why you got to have pretty good questions. And know who you're talking. Yeah, because people can misunderstand the question and take you somewhere that you didn't even want to go.
And be like, oh.
But you got to really be paying attention to recognize what is happening.
Yeah.
A lot of times people don't be like, how do we get here?
I feel like I check out after a while and I'll be like, oh.
That's why conversation piece, we're poor communicators because we're not asking the questions to truly understand why we're having this conversation. It's like, I'm going to let you say something and I'm going to respond and we're going to go our separate ways.
Look, sometimes it's just best that way. Like, let me get up out of here. Let me get on out of here.
Yeah. So I guess overall, we've learned that change is going to happen. And in order to be a better communicator, we have to ask better questions.
Key takeaways, yeah, pretty much. In a roundabout way, long story long.
For sure. We should practice that more. Okay. At least with people that deserve it.
Yeah. I mean, everybody deserves it from somebody, though. Let me just make that point.
Yeah. Be mindful of your time.
Please.
Anybody you want to give a shout out before we get out of here?
No. Not today. You?
Shout out to all the educators who had a year that's coming back next year. The students really need you. Those of you that didn't have so good of a year, I hope your year next year is better. Learn what you did this year, learn what you didn't like, and let's change some things so that we can have a better school year and increase our communication by asking better questions so that we can have a better year next year. Y'all make today better than yesterday. Don't worry about anything you can't control. GATA. Get after that action or that action will get after you. Be great on purpose.